Hey guys, what's up? This is Shukesh, and well, today I will be talking about the biggest pros and cons of this VIVO V9, which has been launched more than a month ago. And in this price segment, that is 20 to 25,000 rupees price bracket, VIVO V9 as well as OPPO F7s are unique devices. These are camera centric phones, so other departments like the build quality, the processors might not be as per the price if you consider devices like Redmi Note 5 Pro or the new Zenfone Max Pro M1. But apart from the camera, overall OPPO F7 offers better performance and also much better build quality. I mean, OPPO F7 feels like a very premium phone, which VIVO V9 does not. V9's back imitates metal, but in hand it feels like plastic, whereas F7's back is also plastic, but it feels like glass and much more premium and more confident. In the software department as well, F7 excels V9 in the speed of the app launch and also in RAM management, which I will talk about later. So before I share with you the cons, let me go through the pros, that is the things that I like on this phone. Of course, this huge 6.3-inch display in a very compact body is one of the main reasons to buy this smartphone. The display of V9 is even slightly taller than S9 Plus, and the total height of the phone is 3.3mm shorter than the Samsung flagship. But of course, you have to bear with the notch at the top. Honestly, I really don't mind this notch. I mean, Essential Phone did this first, then iPhone 10 brought it into the mainstream. The whole world has started following this trend, especially Chinese phone makers, and it's really not possible for everybody to buy an iPhone 10, which is 4 times the price of V9. So you are getting flagship tech into an affordable smartphone, which is really appreciable. So I'm really thankful to Vivo, Oppo and other smartphone makers that are doing this at such low price. Of course, some of the people are really bothered with this notch, and also in some games and applications this notch cover up some important options or settings. So for each and every application you can set safe area display or full screen view. In safe area display, the screen becomes rectangular just like S9 Plus, and not all the apps are currently optimized for 19:9 aspect ratio, but so far I did not encounter any issues with any applications. Now this chin at the bottom bothers me more than the notch at the top. On the iPhone 10 there is basically no bezel because the display curves at the bottom, which increases the price. So to keep the price as low as 23,000 rupees, $350, most of the non-Apple phones are having this chin. Now despite having this huge display, the weight of this phone is just 150 gram thanks to the plastic construction. It feels really lightweight in hand and also in pocket. If it was plastic or glass like S9 Plus, the weight would have been 190 gram or as high as 200 gram. The back looks like metal until you hold it, but as I mentioned before, I prefer the glass-like finish at the back of OPPO F7, which is also lightweight, just 158 gram. Now unlike most of the other smartphones, especially Xiaomi devices, you have two dedicated SIM card slots and also a micro SD card slot. Thanks to Jio, this has become one of the biggest factors in a smartphone in Indian market. Now let me share with you one of the biggest cons of this VIVO V9. Well, on the OPPO F7 you have dual 4G support, that is you can use two 4G SIM cards at the same times. Since Jio does not work without 4G network, this is another very crucial factor. This V9 is not a dual 4G phone. Now one of the biggest selling point of VIVO V9 is of course the camera, especially the front camera and the dual rear cameras at the back. Well, though the rear camera is quite good, I am somewhat disappointed with the front camera quality. It's not as good as OPPO F7, the main competitor of VIVO V9. The images are faded with lots of noise and the color recording is not accurate, really very pale, it's not sharp, and also overprocessing makes the face artificial. As you can see in this picture, my short beard is almost gone. So though in paper it says 24 megapixel selfie camera, I am not really ready to call V9 a selfie centric phone. On the contrary, the rear camera samples are really good from the V9. It's even somewhat better than F7's rear camera in color recording, in sharpness, but they are very close. V9 might be 10% better than F7 in the rear camera, and F7 is like 50% better than V9 in the front camera quality. In addition to that, you can also record 4K videos which OPPO F7 cannot. But due to the lack of image stabilization, there is no OIS, even EIS, videos look slightly shaky or hazy. Though the video quality is not up to the mark, but still it's great to have 4K recording, and also no need to mention, with the help of the secondary camera at the rear, the bokeh mode or the portrait mode is really fun to use. It works as it should be, and the image quality is also quite good. As you know, in this mode, even after capturing the image, you can just touch to focus anywhere on the screen. The next thing I really appreciate on this VIVO V9 is the loudspeaker, which is quite loud enough for indoor movie watching. You can clearly hear the voice with great clarity. As you know, you have face unlock on VIVO V9 and it works perfectly without any lag. The lock screen is bypassed and it feels like there is no lock screen at all. It takes you to the home screen instantly when you click on the power key. It might not be as secured or as accurate as flagships, but it works just fine and I really like it. It's really great to see a Vivo smartphone launching with Android 8.1 Oreo out of the box. A lot of flagships including Galaxy S9 Plus does not have Android 8.1 as of now. The user interface is snappy but not the best. OPPO F7 is much faster in launching third-party apps and big games. In system applications, V9 is fast enough. I have no complaints at all. The user interface is also quite fast, but when it comes to launching applications, especially games, the phone is really laggy. It takes much longer time to load games. There are smartphones with Snapdragon 636 like Redmi Note 5 Pro or Zenfone Max Pro M1 with almost half the price tag, but Snapdragon 626 on a 23,000 rupees smartphone where the front camera is not as good as you can expect from a selfie or camera centric phone is quite disappointing actually. And in addition to that, the RAM management of V9 is very poor. It's much inferior to F7 despite featuring the same amount of RAM, that is 4GB. So far I know the RAM is old DDR3 on this V9. So this is the biggest con of this smartphone. I want to also add here, in some countries VIVO V9 feature old Snapdragon 450. The battery inside is 3260 mAh, so I initially thought the battery life would not be that good, but surprisingly the battery life is excellent, one of the best I have seen on a smartphone with this screen size. I am easily getting around 2 days of battery life on normal to heavy usage, so I think this is the biggest pro of this Vivo smartphone. There are a few other facts I want to mention here, like there is no fast charging for the battery and there is no NFC, and the micro USB port at the bottom is not acceptable in 2018. There is no secondary microphone for noise cancellation I could find. Unlike most of the smartphones, you have volume rocker just above the power key. So this is not of course a con, just you have to get used to this. The secondary camera is not for optical zoom, it does not work most of the time. It's for the depth information recording for the bokeh or the portrait mode. So if you find this secondary camera is doing nothing, well, it's not fake, it's just for helping the primary camera. There are a couple of pre-installed bloatware into this V9, and starting from the notch at the top of the display, the camera module at the back, and the camera viewfinder interface in the software, the settings menu, the on-off switches, and of course the earphones imitates iPhones or iOS. It feels like a poor man's iPhone 10. Honestly, I really don't mind all these things, but some people might get offended, and when you see apps like iMusic or iManage, it's really insane. You can of course borrow tech from flagships, but copying interface or style is not acceptable, I think. In this regard as well, OPPO F7 is far away from iPhones. with single camera modules, and colorways is not as similar to as iOS, but the earphones are just like Apple EarPods. The wallpaper you get pre-installed and preloaded into V9 is just like the one you get on iPhones. So this is another con of this Vivo smartphone. If you ask me, I would definitely suggest you to go for OPPO F7, which is better in every possible way. If you are really into this smartphone, then the strong points are the huge display, lightweight build quality, and also the rear camera, the speaker, latest Android version, and of course the battery. Well guys, that's all in this video. I have tried my best to share with you my experience, and this is an honest review. I'm not getting paid by OPPO, VIVO or any other company. I hope that you have found this video useful because I'm sharing with you my long-term experience with this phone. If so, then please consider subscribing to this channel. This is Shukesh signing off. Have a nice day guys.